Hello again, welcome back. In the previous video, we have ended our discussion or ended our video after completing this two column of our worksheet. So here in this video, as I have already mentioned to you, that I will try to complete this two column of the worksheet. Okay, and this column is known as adjusted trial balance. What do you mean by adjusted trial balance? It is the trial balance prepared after taking the ledger balance of each account after they have been adjusted. So because of the adjusting entry, the ledger balance of many accounts will change, and if we prepare a trial balance using the new balances of each account, then we'll get adjusted trial balance. Okay, so normally you have to post the adjusting entries to the ledger, then the ledger balance will change, and from these balances you can prepare the adjusted trial balance. But here in the worksheet we can do it directly. That's the beauty of worksheet. Okay, we don't have to depend on the ledger for finding out the balance. We can use our logic and we can prepare the adjusted trial balance very easily. Okay, so here in this video I'll show you how to do it. Actually, we are not learning anything new here. It's the same basic you have learned in chapter 2, where you have learned that the balance of each account may increase or decrease depending on the which side or which balance it has. Suppose an account has debit balance. That's a quick review. Okay, suppose an account has debit balance. That means whenever we will debit that particular account more, that account balance, the debit balance of that account will increase, and whenever we will credit that account, each time we credit the account, the balance of that particular account will decrease. So that is true for the accounts that has debit balance. And opposite things has been seen in the accounts that has credit balance. The account that has normally credit balance, suppose account like unearned revenue, which normally has credit balance, whenever each time we will credit them or credit this account, the account balance will increase. And whenever we will debit this account, the account balance of this credit balance account will decrease. So it's about going to the same direction or to the opposite direction. If you are in the debit balance or if you are off debit balance, if you debit, the balance will increase. If you credit, the balance will decrease. And if your account is in the credit balance, whenever you credit that account more, the balance will increase, and whenever you debit that account, the balance will decrease. So the same principle we can use here. Think about the cash. The trial balance, the balance of cash was 4,500. It is the unadjusted one. And what will be the balance of trial balance in the adjusted one? Very simple, that cash account didn't get impacted by any of the adjusting entries. So the balance of cash didn't change because of the adjusting entry. So the balance will remain the same. So always remember that balance of a particular account will always remain on the side it previously had. Suppose some account had debit balance, it will always have debit balance. The balance may increase or decrease, but it will always be in the debit side. Okay, so cash is in the debit side, 4,500. This month there is no adjusting entry that has changed cash, and it is like that cash account is not impacted by the adjusting entries. Always remember that. So the cash account the unadjusted balance 4,500 and the adjusted balance will also be the same, 4,500, because that account didn't get adjusted. Okay, so this is how you'll write. Next one, account receivable. Previously it has a debit balance of 3,200 and there is no adjusting entry related to accounts receivable in this particular problem. So the balance will remain the same, 3,200 on the same side. Okay, no change. Very simple. So unadjusted and adjusted balance of these two accounts are same. Okay, now move on to the supplies. Now that will be interesting. Supplies previously had a balance of 2,000, but in this particular problem, we have an adjusting entry related to supplies, and we have created the supplies by 1520. So supplies normally has debit balance, but we have created the supplies by 1520. Okay, so 1520 we have created. So what will happen to the balance? Will the balance change? Of course it will change, because there is adjusting entry related to that. Supplies is an asset account, it will always be on the debit side, but since we have created the account, so something that has debit balance I have already mentioned, if we credit that account, the balance will decrease by that amount. So our balance will be like this. Previously it was 2000. Now we have created 1520. So now it will remain in the debit side, but the balance will decrease, and the balance will become 480. Okay, because we have gone to the opposite side. And you can also check, this is what they have told us, right? A physical count reveals only $480 of roofing supplies on hand, and our account also support that. The adjusted balance of supplies will be 480, because actually right now, and at the end of March 31, the company had $480 of supplies only. Very simple, right? So equipment, asset account, debit side, no change. So we can just write safely, we can write 11,000 here. Okay. What about accumulated depreciation account? Since it is on the credit side, it will always remain on the credit side, but this account has a credit balance, and during the adjusting we have created it again, so the balance will increase or decrease. Exactly, since it is credit balance and we are again creating it, the balance will increase by that amount. So previously the balance was 1250, now the balance will increase more by 250. So the new balance will become 1500. That will be the adjusted balance of accumulated depreciation. Okay, so the account balance will increase because we have created that account. This account previously had credit balance and we have again created it, so the balance will increase by that amount, 250. So the new balance will become 1500. Accounts payable on the credit side, it will remain on the credit side, and since there is no change, you can safely write 2500 is the adjusted balance. Very easy. Next one, unearned revenue. Which side we should write it? It is actually in the credit side. It was in the credit side, it will always remain in the credit side here. But because this month we have made some adjustment entry related to that, and we have debited it. Okay, so debiting an account that has credit balance will increase or decrease? Exactly, it will decrease the balance of that particular account. So previously the balance was 550. Now we have debited 290. So the 290 will be deducted, and the new balance of adjusted trial balance will be 260 for unearned service revenue. The unearned service revenue at the end of the month is $260. And check it here. Exactly. The question has mentioned the same thing. The unearned service revenue amounted to $260 at March 31. So we have done the right thing, right? At the end of the month, our unearned service revenue is $260 only. Okay, great. Owner's capital, no change, right? It was in the credit side, remain in the credit side, 12,900. Drawings, no change, no adjustment related to drawings, so it will remain 1100 on the debit side. Service revenue, this account, there was a change, right? So the account normally has a credit balance, and we have created it again, so the balance will increase. So previously the balance was 6,300. Now the balance will become 6,300 plus 290. So the new balance of our service revenue will be 6590. credit side because revenue normally has a credit balance. For the salaries and wages expense now, it is an expense account. The normal balance of this account is debit, and in this particular adjusting entry problem, we have debited it more by 700. So the balance will remain on the debit side, but this balance, previous balance 1300, will be increased by 700 more because we have debited it again. So that new balance will become, or adjusted balance will become 2000. Salaries and wages expense, adjusted balance 2000. Next one is a simple one, miscellaneous expense, and this expense didn't change during the adjusting entry process. So the balance, it will be on the debit side and the value will be the same. Got it? Okay, great. Supplies expense. Remember that we have created new 3 account because of the adjusting entries. So supplies expense, it didn't have any balance before. So now 1520 was debited. So the supplies expense will have a debit balance. The debit side is higher because there is no credit here. So the supplies expense will have a debit balance of 1520. 1520 debit side. Depreciation expense almost similar. It will be on the debit side too. And the value will be 250 because there is no credit, only debit by 250. So the debit side will be higher by 250. Salaries and wages payable are opposite because that's a liability account. So it has been created here. And the balance will also be 700 on the credit side. So just following the same principle I have talked about in the beginning, that whenever you'll have to think about whether the balance will increase or decrease, just think about what is the normal balance and what actually we are doing. If you are doing the same thing as the normal balance, suppose you are doing debit for the account that has debit balance, so your balance should increase. And if you are doing the opposite, if you are creating the account that has debit balance, the balance will decrease. As simple as that. Same principle will follow here. And again, one thing always remember, that the balance side will not change. Something that has debit balance will always remain as a debit balance, but the balance will increase or decrease, but the side won't change. Cash will never go to the credit side. Okay, so remember that. Don't make mistake in this particular area. So after we are done with adjusted trial balance and writing the balance of each of the account, now we have to check whether we have done it accurately or not. How can we check that? Very simple. We have to calculate the sum of the debit side. So the sum of the debit side is 24,450. You can also calculate the sum of credit side and see if it matches or not. I hope it matches. Exactly, it matches, and the two sides are equal, and they are 24,450. So I hope with this you can easily calculate the adjusted trial balance part of a worksheet very easily. Just remember the thing I have discussed here throughout the video, that when you think that account balance will increase or decrease, and remember again that the account balance side will never change. Something in the debit side will always be in the debit side, something in the credit side will always be in the credit side. So if you remember these two things carefully, you won't make any mistake. Okay, so I think we have to keep the video short. That's why I will be coming up with another video. There I'll solve this last 4 column, or I'll complete the last 4 column, and with that we can conclude our discussion of worksheet problem solving. Okay, great. Thank you for your patience. Hope to see you soon, inshallah.